Welcome to the Lowdown Mortgage Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the topics that directly impact the evolving originator. I'm your host, Connor Bartley. Bam! And joining me today is someone who has built their entire business through organic social media, no paid ads. She's become known as the educator in her market, with agents telling clients to follow her before they even meet with them. She's a top 20% originator in the country, all while balancing production and leading a team of 6 other loan officers. Ashlee Cameron, welcome to the Lowdown.
Hi. Thanks for
Hi,
having me.
welcome. Absolutely great to have you. I'm excited for this conversation. I know you're going to bring a ton of value to this audience. And, I always like to get things kind of started with just the beginning, right? How did you get into this industry? How did mortgage find you? I've had a few guests on that were born into it or have sort of inherited, a family member's book of business. But how did mortgage? What's your mortgage story?
I actually really love my mortgage story, so I'm glad that you asked me that question. I lived in the San Juan Islands. I live in Washington. And if you've ever been to the San Juans or any island for that matter, there's very much island fever there. So I was there. I was itching to get off the island and I found out I was pregnant, or I did not find out I was pregnant. Excuse me. I have to backtrack a little bit. I wanted to get off that dang island. And so I moved home, lived with my parents, and I needed a job. So I got a job scanning documents in the basement of a real estate company, making the company digital. It was 2013. So they were slightly behind the times a little bit, but that was my job. Started from the bottom and now I'm here with a branch. So I worked in the real estate industry for a year and a half. And a guy, he said, "Hey, I'll pay you $2 more an hour to be my loan officer assistant." I said, $2 more an hour sounds really great. I was pregnant at the time. And then I came over and I've been in the loan officer mortgage industry ever since.
That's phenomenal. And when we've talked before, getting on to record this, you shared with me that, basically you've built a lead generation engine through social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And, I asked, hey, are you boosting posts? Are you spending money on that? And you said no. So I'm just curious if you could walk us through like how you got started with that strategy and really what the turning point was where you realize this could drive like real business, like where it was starting to click for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. 2016, I went out on my own as my own loan officer after being an assistant for quite some time. And I actually had a realtor friend challenge me to a 30-day video challenge. And this was before video was a thing. I don't even think at that point we could post video on Instagram. Instagram used to be a photo only social media site. 30-day challenge. I had to post a video of myself every single day. And at first I thought, there is no way I can make this happen. I had a 5-year or 3-year-old, and then my twins were just born. And there are videos of me like this. There was no ring lights. I didn't have any of that stuff back then. And I was so petrified that everyone was going to make fun of me. And to be fair, a lot of people did make fun of me because it wasn't a thing back then. But then I would go to my networking events, or I'd be out in the community, or I'd be at the grocery store and someone would be like, "Hey, I saw your video. It was really good." Or "I heard you say this on your video," or "I saw you and the kids doing this. Where'd you go to dinner?" And I realized that social media is a free outlet if you choose for it to be, to get business. And so that was kind of the starting point of my whole let's record on video shtick. And now it's like a lot. There's a lot more
Yeah.
than it
So what
used to
has
be.
it
I
evolved
definitely post
into?
more than once a day.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned to
What was
me,
that?
well, I was going to say, what has it evolved into? Because I know you mentioned to me just sort of the metrics or the consistency that you've developed on there. And like for me, I was like, oh my goodness, it's a lot. But like, how has it become just a part of the routine for you?
You're breaking up a little bit. Can you hear me?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah,
That's
my
okay.
question was how has it started to become more of a routine for you? Like what does that look like today?
Yeah, so today, at minimum, one reel a day. Usually, I try to post 2 or 3 reels a day, one stagnant post a day, and then 10 stories at minimum. I catch myself thinking, you're so annoying on social media, but you almost have to have a mind flip and think, not everyone in the world is following 100 agents like I am. right? Most people aren't following 15 loan officers or 15 realtors. So when they see your videos, they actually do enjoy seeing it multiple times because you're talking about different things. So the content is a lot. I am recording constantly. In fact, I should pop up my cell phone and record this now because, everything is content. But yeah, social media is a huge part of my business, a huge part of my life, and every day we're constantly recording the things that we do. I really try to focus on one educational piece, one fun piece, and then one with my family, because I think that we talked about this when we originally spoke. The people, your clients who are looking to work with you, they want to work with a real person. So the authenticity that shows up on social media, I find is the most important thing. Most people are interested and kind of like, oh my gosh, you don't have a business page. I don't have a business page or a personal page separately. I have one place where everyone can go. Oh, this is Ashlee Cameron. This is who I'm going to be working with. She has a mom. Her kids play soccer. She likes this restaurant. And I think that's more when you're going belly to belly with a loan officer, it's scary. But if you get to see that version of me or me cooking dinner in my pajamas or making cookies with the kids, it just makes me feel more like a person. And then that barrier of level of entry just becomes easier because you feel like you know who I am. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
totally. There's two things I want to call out there that I thought were really great that you brought up. One is sometimes it can feel like you're in a vacuum. Like in a vacuum, if you are a loan officer that's struggling with, I don't want to post, I don't want to create the content because I see what all these other loan officers are doing. Because just realize that your clients aren't following 10 other loan officers, so they're not going to see 10 other loan officers posting content. If they're following you, they're going to see you post content. So that's a great point to make. And then two, yeah, there's a lot of vulnerability in the mortgage process. And as a client, a potential borrower, I mean, you are going to just kind of strip down the financial side of your life in front of somebody and go, and stand there vulnerable. And when there's a connection that you can make with them or feel something is in common or just sort of lower that, like, I don't know, kind of get on the same common ground with
It
them.
kind
I
of
think,
like lifts up the veil a little bit, if you
yeah,
will,
100%.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we get nervous going to the doctor's office, but if we knew a little bit about the doctor, maybe we wouldn't be so nervous, right?
I,
So,
yeah.
um, anyway, it's
I
one
don't
way
know.
of
I
looking
might
at
be
it.
scarier than a doctor.
There you go.
I
Yeah,
promise I'm not. I'm like 5'2" and I'm like yeah, more bark than bite for sure.
absolutely. Well, something that you also called out when we spoke before was that most of your leads are coming through Facebook. So you're posting on all the platforms, but you're seeing a bigger return on investment or return on effort with what you're doing on Facebook. Do you have a reason for that? Or are you noticing anything about that? What stands out to you about that?
Since our conversation, I thought a lot about that question. So I did a deep dive into and did some research. My views on both platforms, typically I'm using Instagram to edit, post, and that's where I live is on Instagram, but I have everything cross posted there. And what I think it is, and why I think I'm getting so many more hits or people raising their hand on Facebook is a lot of them come from the community pages. And Instagram doesn't have a community page. So in my county, specific to each town, there's, Port Orchard or Bremerton community page or this page, and I get tagged in those a lot. So do 300 other loan officers. But what clients are doing is they're clicking on each individual person, they go and look at their page, and it's kind of like online dating. Who do I think I would work with best? And I think that because they're getting an organic referral off of Facebook, and then they're coming to me and they're looking through all of their options, and then they're able to raise their hand based off of the kind of the triangle of trust. They know her, they think she's great. I should know her because they think she's great. And so I think Facebook allows for that a little bit more than Instagram does, because that was one of the most interesting questions anybody's ever asked me. Why Facebook? Because Facebook's kind of like the dinosaur of social media, right? But I still have to integrate it into my business because we're getting so much from it. So thank you. It helped me explore and do a deep dive on my social media. So I appreciate that. End of the
Hey,
year,
no problem.
survey.
I'm here to help, right?
Yeah.
And so, but being active has really helped you develop this reputation as an educator. to the point where agents are saying, "Hey, you've got to go follow Ashlee before we get any deeper into this, and you'll learn a lot from her." How did you really establish that identity? Was it just through the consistent educational messages? And why did you decide, hey, that's where I want to go with that?
I think storytelling breeds education, because if something happens in my business or with a client or a scenario that can just help one person, and I take my phone and I'm like this, and it's just a talking head video of, hey, my client called me today, such and such, they're getting a divorce, we need this, this, and this. The other lender said, no, I think I could do it this way. And then someone's like, oh, hey, I think I'm in that situation. There's a lead, So it that piece and just the consistency, the authentic on I can't say that word. Can you say that word for me?
Authenticity.
Authenticity. Yes. Of just showing up as yourself and then constantly posting. I'll tell you something that's crazy though, because you mentioned realtors are sending their clients and saying, hey, you should follow her if you're thinking about buying a house. I also recently have experienced it on a grander level where another realtor is telling another realtor to follow me on social media so that they can get educated on the mortgage side, and you should definitely connect with her. So I got a random follow from a realtor, which happens, and I usually, go check them out, see if they're local, whatever, and I followed them back. And then I'm driving through my local coffee stand, and she goes, "You're Ashlee. I just followed you on Instagram. I just got here's my business card. I just got my license. We had coffee. She's already sent me a couple referrals." And it all stemmed from social media. But the biggest part there that I'd want to hit on is that social media is the catalyst, but the community is how it implements into your business. So I do just think it's all name recognition, face recognition, and just being out there as a whole. So
Yeah.
that was really cool. That was
Yeah.
last month. So
That's
yeah.
like super next level awesome. And you made a really interesting observation about just like generational patterns, which was that
Mhm.
the younger generation, the millennials, the Gen Z buyers, they're researching real intensely online, but they still prefer to meet in person. Like you said, that's the group of buyers that you meet with the most. What do you think's
Mhm.
driving that dynamic?
So my generation millennial, I don't know if I'm quite considered an elder millennial, but regardless. So I
Zennial.
got on social media in 2009. And so we've seen this wild transformation of life, and now here we are with AI in 2025. And I think for most millennials and generations younger, we are thrown so much information at us every single day. Half the time, I can't even tell if it's AI anymore, when I'm online. And so I think that we are just so used to consuming, consuming, consuming that we don't necessarily trust everything that we see. So we do our research, but then in order to establish that trust, we have to see it face to face, belly to belly, because we don't think it's real unless we see it in person, because we've seen so much online. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know how many videos I watch a day. 1,000? I have no idea. And it's really hard to dissect what is real, what is not, what is fact, what is fiction right now. So sitting belly to belly, sitting directly across from me in my office, looking at my screen, I have four screens and one is a mirror, and they can just watch what I do. And that establishes the trust that you need to buy a house, because it's the biggest purchase of your life. They just want to meet me. Now, my elder generations, first of all, millennials don't follow instructions, and I'm one of them, so I can say that. So that's another reason they need to come see me. The older generations, they're pretty savvy online. I don't know what it is about my generation, but we can't sign disclosures to save our lives because we're going too quick. We can't read all the steps.
Yeah. Do you think that there's going to be like how soon until we have a reconciliation with AI and the pendulum swings back and we go that's enough. I just want real human interaction.
The AI question. I think post pandemic, I think we hit that spot, not necessarily with AI. We were online so much. And when we went through that whole transition, don't even get me started on doing mortgages during the 2020 to 2021 era, because that's a whole podcast. That's a whole series in itself. But we we as human beings crave human interaction, and the dopamine hits that we get online, because let's be real, a like, a notification, a DM is a dopamine hit that satisfies that need, but only for a short second. So the AI back to AI and we need the human interaction. I mean, ChatGPT is my best friend right now, although I think that there will come a time where it hits a wall and it just can't do what we do. There has to be a human element to the biggest purchase of your life.
Yeah. Well, an example from my life, not mortgage related, but AI related. Went to a sports banquet and the coaches were giving speeches just about the players and, all that. And it was, as someone who does online writing and has used AI to try and enhance something I've written or, ideate a little bit, I can recognize like the flow of a chat GPT written speech
With
pretty
a little
fast.
dash in it.
Yeah, well, and just like listening to someone read it, and as the and so it was really, I don't know, it was disappointing to me that it felt like the coaches had all just like had their speeches written by ChatGPT. And
It seems almost disingenuous, right?
exactly, I mean, that's how it
Mhm.
felt in the room. It just
Mhm.
like these are coaches who've spent an entire season with their players. They should know them
Mhm.
really well, and yet what they were reading as a speech was very generic, not personal, and clearly written by someone else.
Mhm.
So it was really, I don't know, it felt weird. But that's why I asked the question, because I just wonder like how soon are we going to say screw it, I don't want to don't want to deal with that. I just want to meet you across the table and know you're real and get like real information from you.
I do. I have had someone ask me if I'm AI while I'm on the phone. I know a lot of people right now are using AI, and I it's like social media when it first rolled out. It is a necessary evil in our world. I don't think it's evil, but you get the gist. It's you either lean in or you get pushed all the way out, because whether we like it or not, AI is here to stay. And I think it's a tool that we can help implement and improve our business, but I don't think that it'll completely take over. Maybe, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's there to enhance, right? So, now beyond being an educator, how else are you bringing value to your business partners, and just what are they getting from working with you that they wouldn't get from another loan officer?
That I really stewed over this question because I think it's the question of the century, and I think every single loan officer and realtor answers it the exact same way, in that they say communication. I'm always on top of my communication. I'm always available. Well, yeah, that's your entire job. So yes, we are all very communicative and we all are very on top of our job. I think that where I bring value, and I'm going to go old school, old school. I'm good at my job. I know the guidelines. I really, really know the guidelines, and I do deep dives into my guidelines. So, as far as closing transactions, like check that off the list. But one thing me and my office have implemented as a whole, and not just with real estate agents, because of the majority, maybe not the majority, but a large part of our referral sources are not directly from realtors. So, just with our business partners as a whole, instead of celebrating the referrals we get, we have started celebrating the referrals that we're able to send out. So I have a whiteboard in my office, and every time we're able to refer someone, a business owner, a real estate agent, a financial advisor, anybody, car person, coffee shop, whatever, anytime we're able to refer someone out, being the guy that knows a guy is the most important thing in this business. And so my whole team right now, we're celebrating. We're trying to get to 100 referrals by the end of the month, where we're just writing a tick on the board. And then, as soon as we get to 100, we'll do something cool. But I truly believe in the giver's gain philosophy. And we really do try to give back to our community. And we're having a lot of fun with it. It's like it almost becomes more fun to be able to send your friend a referral than to receive one. And then, karma, whatever you believe in, it just always comes back. And it's
Yeah.
just good.
Yeah, I love that. That's so cool that you're going towards like you've got the goal of 100 in a month, and that's a great like that's a big goal, 100 referrals in a month. So that's really awesome.
But if you think about it, like how many people can you refer out in a real estate transaction?
Right.
There's like a ton. It has to be over 100. If you actually break down each individual person that you can refer business to, I just think I will geek out about this all day long.
Yeah. I mean, not to mention if there's repairs that need to be done on the house, and I mean
Hmm.
all of those things, landscaping, you name it, right?
Hmm.
So I love that focus, and clearly that shows that you're, just committed to service and have kind of that servant's attitude. Um, But let's talk about borrowers for a minute. I mean, is there just in your career a transaction that still stands out to you, one that was just particularly meaningful and just reminds you of why you love what you do?
Yeah. I mean, there's probably like 5 or 6 that I can go back to and recall. One specifically that stands out to me was someone who just separated from the service, and I was able to pre-approve them, but at a very low loan amount. They were young, just separated, just got, post being active for the last 4 years, just got a new job, so entry level, brand new family, and they were qualified at a lower purchase price, a tough purchase price, competitive purchase price. And a condo popped up and they were like, we love it. Condo HOAs right now are insane through the roof. And so I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this is the only thing in the market that they will qualify for at all, purchase price wise. Their baby was the baby was going through something, and I just don't like to talk about personal information on here, but or client personal information, but we needed to get them into a home, long story short. And in order to make their debt to income ratios work, like we had no money to play with, we had no gift funds, we couldn't have a cosigner on the VA loan, lots of different moving pieces. But I was like, there has to be a guideline because HOA fees cover utilities. And if you and I were using a conventional loan, we wouldn't have to count the utilities against us in our debt to income ratio. So I did the deepest dive in a VA handbook that probably anybody has ever done. You can actually exclude the utilities of the HOA from the debt to income ratio as long as you can prove consistently how much they've cost over the last couple years. Then you average it, and then you could subtract. I'm sorry, I'm talking about guidelines. I'm geeking out so hard, but you can subtract the utilities from the HOA, and then we got it to like 0.01, where within the DTI range that we needed it to be in. Like that whole scenario, closing that loan, figuring out the pieces of the puzzle that works, that's why I love my job. That is the fun part. That's the good stuff for me. And just know, and that guideline's like not super known. And knowing that just going like the extra mile to get those clients into a home where they never would have been able to otherwise. In fact, last week they just called me and said they're ready to sell and buy another house, and they got a new job, and like they're just in such a great position. And that fills my cup so much. And that baby got into a new house, and the borrowers hung in there with me because, when you're learning new guideline things, you have to jump through some hoops. You have to verify that, yes, this is actually how it reads, because guidelines read really weird. And then I had to note it on the loan approval and all of this stuff. And they really hung in there with me. And at the end of the day, I think that the real superhero is the borrower. You're buying a house. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of documentation. It's a lot of paperwork. It's stressful. It's a really big deal. And if you're able to provide me all the documentation, because they had to go to the HOA, the condo, they had to get the whole track record from PSE, the electricity company. Like it was a lot of hoops to jump through. Sorry, I could cry, but it just made me so happy. And I am really excited for them.
That's great. Well,
Yeah.
I think one of the hardest parts of, and I've never been a loan officer, but just
Okay.
observing the job, right? One of the hardest parts of being a loan officer has to be that you personally don't buy a house all the time. And so you like there's a blessing of perspective that happens when you're on the transaction side, when you're on the buyer side of what you do every day. And so there's like when you have that reminder, it reminds you of like how important, like what people go through, right? Like the stress they feel, the questions that their family is asking them.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to know what's going on, when people find out, and it's just sort of like, and the conversations that take place at home at late at night and wondering, am I going to hear from them tomorrow? So it's like when you have those moments where you kind of just are exposed to the whole process and you're reminded of just what they experience and
Mm-hmm.
your role in that, like I think that's a beautiful thing, and clearly it resonated with you, and that'll be one that I'm sure you'll always think about and go, yes, this is
Always.
why I do it, and this is what I want for others, and so I'm all in. As we wrap up, what is something that you wish you understood better earlier in your career that would have accelerated your growth, and what advice would you give a loan officer today that's trying to grow to help them break through to the next level?
That's a big question. That's a really big question.
It was a two-parter too, so it was a
It
little
was
unfair.
two-parter. Number one, what do I wish I knew and how would I
Yeah.
change it? I wish that I knew how important it was to show up. To show up. Number one, just show up. Number two, show up authentically. And number three, get in real relationship with people. I think when I first started out, the idea was to cast a really wide net and try to work with as many people as possible as far as referral partners are concerned. Over the years, it's kind of gotten like this, but like this. The relationships have become significantly deeper, and I would much rather work with this many realtors who genuinely love me and trust me and know that I'm going to get the job done than try to work with every single person in the county. And that, or the state or the country for that matter, that has changed my perspective quite a bit, and that the real relationships matter. They really do. And I forgot the second part of your question because I was engrossed in the first.
I think, I mean, it's what advice would you give someone who's trying to grow? And I think that, I mean, what you just said is probably could be the same answer. So I think that's
Yeah, I
wonderful.
would say show up. I think that 90% of this job is coming to work, making the calls, making the posts. It's just showing up and being around other people who are also showing up. I got into real estate because I want more freedom and time. That's my favorite. That's my favorite newbie thing to say because I work probably 60 hours a week. Not because I feel like I have to or there's just always something that can be done, but I genuinely truly love this job. And so 60 hours feels like nothing to me because when you love what you do, it doesn't really feel like work. And I feel that way.
Yeah. Well, it shows. And Ashlee, I really appreciate you being here and joining the podcast today, being on the lowdown. And, I wish you nothing but the best for the future. So thank you for joining the show today.
Thank you. And likewise, it was fun.
Awesome.
Bye.